And then we'll start today. So guys, welcome. To be fair, it's annoying Jasper's not here because the conversation we just had, he is great insight for, and he's taught me a lot. So he's working in the medical field and with ADHD, because he'll sit there typing as I'm talking to him, like, Jasper, are you listening? And he's like, yeah, I actually am, because he can multitask. But it's brilliant looking at different people and the way they work, because some people have to ultra focus to hear you. But anyway, we shall screen share first. I'm going to go full screen. Where's full screen? Desktop. There we go. Okay, so today, topics we've got: setting up your plan. So I thought today I'd go through how I program clients. So we've got a little bit of stuff to do with the calories and the expenditure, which we'll do later. So I'll move that to the third tab. And then I'll bring that back on how it links back in. Because we've got setting up your calories. This is all in the presentation that we're going to go through. Then we've got steps, cardio, expenditure, things like that. So some elements of these things. Some of you guys have worked with me before, so you'll have seen a training plan. If I pull up, who can I pull up that's not going to be bothered? I mean, pull up Jasper, even though he's not here. Where's Jasper? This has got too many damn pages now. I'll put Tom. Tom will be okay. Tom, you know Tom.
Yeah, he's a good lad. He's really loving working with you. Actually, he's really super complimentary of what you're doing with him.
Yeah, he's a really good guy. So Tom is one of my newer clients. He's come to me through Tom. This Tom, who is an ex-client, still great friend to this day. Get with this, and I'll pull the So the two ways I program clients, which is two ways you could if you were doing it for yourself or if someone was programming you. Most people would either use an app, which we've got the Kahuna's app, or a lot of people are still using an Excel spreadsheet. So Tom, when you were with me, and Jake as well, you've seen this one. It's evolved over time, mainly through client feedback, so I always think it's really important. When guys are saying, oh, it'd be good if we could add this and add this. The reason I stopped using a sheet was because, as you guys saw when we were training, it was kind of fiddly. But if you're doing it, you could use a paper logbook to log your training. Some people do that. I think that's a bit old school. It can get lost very easily. If you lose your logbook, you've lost everything, and you have a meltdown. It could get wet if your drink spills in your bag, anything like that. But you're going to probably have your phone on the gym floor for the music. So if we pull that out onto the app, onto the Google Sheet, we can track everything. But obviously, I said today, mainly focusing on calories, expenditure, things like that. So we have an overview for each person that would be steps and often cardio. I like people to do cardio year round, as most of you guys know. Health reasons, always do cardio. I always do at least one hard cardio session a week, and I see a massive benefit that translates going from cardio to the gym floor and vice versa. It really translates across well. If you're not doing any cardio, we see this with some of the big guys in the gym. They'll do a set and they're just dying on the floor. Doing a set of hack squats or something. And it's not conducive to training, because if you want to train at high capacity, you need to be able to catch your breath. Because every time you do one of those sets that absolutely exhaust you, you hit the ground, you're resting for ages, it's lengthening your session out, but across the session, you're getting more and more tired. And I know this because, as Nick knows, back in the day, I didn't used to stay in shape year round. I used to have balloon up. And I remember, do you remember Dave from the original Flex Gym? He was training with his brother and another guy.
Oh, yeah.
He was like ex-Marine Dave. So it was funnily enough, when I was 19, Dave was 29. When I was 29, I used to say the same things that Dave used to tell me of, you should be fit and healthy. And I always used to thought you'd lose muscle if you did cardio, which we'll go into that in the slides. You lose muscle if you did cardio. That's not true at all, because I've still continued to gain muscle as I've done spin every single week, to the point that I'm trying to die every single week and beat my personal best. But if you did excessive cardio, so if I did spin every day, yes, I would struggle to build muscle, not because of the spin itself, just the sheer exhaustion from training that to that volume and that intensity all the time. Can't be recovered from. But there is a massive benefit from doing some decent level cardiovascular fitness, even if it's just one session a week, and that can be anything, which again we'll cover in a second's time. But like I said, the good ways that we program things when we start bringing it all together. On here, we've got many tabs. So we've got obviously a training tab, diet tab. I have two, so I had a refeed one as well. So if it was what I actually started to do, which some people do as well, training day calories, rest day calories. Rest day calories often lower, and it's a good way then to potentially have a bit more food in the training days. Often rest days, maybe at work, push that first meal back, and you can get away with it. You don't need as much energy anyway on those days, and then you can have a little bit more on the training days, fuel sessions, and generally enjoy a bit more food. But then, if we're dieting hard, especially, we want to put refeeds in there. I prefer the term refeed over cheats, because I think the idea of cheat meal, cheat days sends the wrong message, and it often leads people to eating just highly processed crap. Instead of, if we can eat more good food, even if you want to go out and enjoy food, things like that, that's the time to do it. And go out and enjoy the occasion. Don't have McDonald's, sit eating McDonald's in a car park, which I'm sure most of us are probably guilty of on a stressful day. I know I have anyway. And some chocolate bars maybe, but that's not really going to be very productive to our mental health or physical health. Whereas if we were to go out for food with the family or friends, have a nice meal, high quality meal, that's so much more positive. Especially if you had a hard, stressful week, getting some nice clothes, get dressed up, go and have a nice experience, have a nice conversation. It'll do far, far, far more for you than having some highly processed food everywhere. Even though that doesn't mean you can't eat processed food. But just generally, if we start moving this across, we've got so many different things that we would put into a training plan or a program for someone. I want to give you guys a copy of this sheet as well for later on. It's a blank one. So if you are then going to use it for yourself, say you actually don't know how to program your training in any way, we'll give you a template, and we're showing you how to do it here. I wanted this as a take home, so you're able to then potentially run your own training and things like that. The way we do this, by the way, this is just a quick one on the diet front. You'd need to be on a laptop if you were to make your own here, because you've got drop-down boxes. So I can change this to chicken, chicken, and then we've got the chicken options, chicken breast, chicken sausages, things like that. We go on there, and then it will start changing the portion sizes. So then we say, it's set as a 100-gram portion because we've got a food list in the background here. So if anyone is friendly with Excel, Google Sheets, something like that, you will understand this. If you're not so much, it takes a little bit of getting to grips with, but it's quite simple over time. And then we can change all this to set up our own diet based off our calories. Once we work the calories out, we're trying to get everything worked out together, because that's what I want to give you guys today.
So Chris, if you change the grams, does it then change the calories and everything else?
Yeah, so it's more the portion size. So it's set to 100.
Is it? But that's set in grams, is it?
Yeah, so that's 100 grams, 100-gram portion. So we've got 200 grams essentially there.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool.
So
I like that.
300, and it should change. 400. Why is that not changing? Oh, it is as well. I'm not clicked off it. So 300. You can see it's changing around there. And we can do that all the way down. Then that will automatically change the whole spreadsheet, change the calories and the overall protein and stuff. The main focus that I like people to do is calorie goal, most important, because if we've established that we're going to be eating whole foods, high quality foods, then we don't need to really go into that. These are all high quality foods. If you want to chop and change things and be more flexible, it's part of it. We can give someone a solid plan. The odd person does like an exact plan. A lot of people like a bit of flexibility. And also the fact that we need to be somewhat flexible and understand food itself, not just how to follow a plan. Because, for example, I'm in Mexico. I've not got my supplements with me. We've got different foods. Certain foods are available in the UK and not available here. So if you've got a plan and it's UK-based foods and we go somewhere else, or say you've missed your meals one day and something happens, what do you do? So at least if we can be flexible and we can understand what's in food, how many calories do we have roughly in like 100 grams of chicken breast? We can start to get grips with those. It makes this whole process of understanding nutrition a lot easier. And it means that you don't necessarily have to religiously track for the rest of your life. Once you understand your portion sizes, the amount of expenditure you got. Like I've not, for example, at the moment, I've not tracked my calories for 6 months, but my weight stayed quite consistent. I've actually dieted through that time as well, but it's because the food's consistent, the portion sizes are consistent. So I don't know the exact amount, but I did know it at the start. I just can't remember exactly now. And then if I adjust the expenditure, we're shifting this energy balance down, which is what we'll go on to in the slides in a second. Because that's one of the main things, we just understand the energy balance. Because it isn't as simple as calories in, calories out, because some foods will be metabolized differently. Your physique will certainly look different. I've seen that. We've been here now 3 days, and I've just eaten all real food. So no protein bars, no little chocolate bars here and there, which I normally put into my calories are quite high. And then I feel so much better because I've not had any of those extra bits that just don't digest properly. They're just shit. And my weight's dropped by about 1.5 kilos as well. My stomach's flat, feels better. And for some people, they can digest pretty much everything. For some of us, we notice there's a big difference in how we feel and how we perform, sleep, mental health, cognition, all these things. If we cut out as much processed food as possible and put in as much good food that we've cooked ourselves, or at least something like that. And it's quite important to do that. The rest of the stuff in this tracker is just going on to sort of like hormones, performance enhancement, and stuff like that. So that's later down the line for the other presentations. So I'm going to jump onto here now. Let me go through day one. I've lost my button. So dominating 2024. Back to the slideshow. So calories. What are calories? Just a simple one. Some people don't know this. Why we not necessarily teaching you to suck eggs, so we'll go through this quite quickly, and obviously you guys look back over the slides. Well, some people don't know. Calories are just a measure of energy. So obviously protein, 4 calories per gram, carbs, 4 calories per gram, fat is 9 calories per gram, and then alcohol, if you do drink, 7 calories per gram, but it doesn't work in the same way. But still needs to be factored in. If you're somebody who drinks a lot, some guys forget this. Simple things like calories in any kind of drinks get forgotten, and that can really make them struggle to lose weight. Plus the negative impacts on your health if you're drinking a lot and stuff like that, or drinking sugary drinks. But it's sometimes that we underestimate our calorie intake because we're forgetting all these hidden calories like milk and sugar in your tea, and if you put in loads of oil in a pan and extra things like that, that can really start to add up. What basically that's what we're trying to focus on for the most part. It is nutritional basics, but not everyone actually knows. So if we're then trying to build an energy balance, we need the base metabolic rate, which is BMR, and that's just how many calories you burn just being alive. So I've had a few messages from guys saying, I can't attend, I'm in bed. And I said, this is what I've had for the last 2 weeks. So it's, this is why we delayed in the first place. Because I was incredibly ill to the point where I couldn't really get out of bed. So how many calories would you burn in that state? For me, it's about 2,000, maybe less. It's lower than you probably think it is, just to be alive. And then obviously daily activity, all of us are going to be different. I know some of you guys have got desk jobs, some have got active jobs. And that will make a huge difference. And the heat also makes a difference. A conversation me and Jake had a couple of summers ago. He was really struggling to train because we're in lockdown. It's like, hang on, you're working outside, you're training outside, you're in the sun all day. So that's extra energy that's being burnt to keep you cool all day. Then you're drinking loads of water, but not having any, where's my electrolyte? Not having any electrolytes. This is the one I use. Supplement needs electrolytes is the one I use. But if you're not having any electrolytes and no additional sodium and potassium on your foods and stuff like that, which I've said to a lot of you guys before, that can really start to impact things when it's hot and you're sweating. And you can see that really impacts your training. But you are going to burn more energy in the heat most of the time. If you're training outside when we're in lockdown, things like that, definitely. Because you're going to start moving, which means you'll warm up regardless. So if you're cold, you'll warm up and be normal. But if you're already hot and you warm up again to the same degree, now you're sweating profusely and your body's having to fight to keep you cool. And that does affect your base metabolic rate. So it's something that people don't actually realize, but it will affect that. And it also will affect your blood sugar. So people's blood sugar drops. I had it last night in the gym. When I came out, I'm going, but again, a lot of people don't know what low blood sugar feels like. I'd describe it as things like, first you'll feel a bit disorientated, a bit shaky, a bit weak. And then if it keeps going, things like your lips will go numb. You'll feel like you want to pass out. You feel a bit drunk, really disorientated. And if you're not diabetic, you're not going to die. It just requires a very small amount of glucose and you'll come back up. Well, it is something to be concerned about, especially if you're training, because it could just wreck your session. And then the rest of understanding the energy balance is maintenance calories, calorie deficit, calorie surplus, which we'll go into in a second. So, working out your calories. This is one way. It's not the only way. It's not the only way. So we've got body weight in pounds. You can find these calculators online in lots of places, by the way. Activity, so how active you class yourself as. So if I usually say I'm very active, but it depends, mine fluctuates. When I was on the gym floor, certainly very active. Sometimes now I'm at the desk, not so much. I'd class it as kind of, if you're doing 10K steps and training, then I'd say you may be at 1.5. When you start going over that, we can start putting it up. You know, if you get like 15K steps a day and you're training cardio, things like this, then we're starting to go up to what I'd class as highly active. And then it's trying to work out your maintenance, and then work out your actual amount that you would need. But this is just a calculation. So what I would often do is either use this or data that someone gives me to try and work out what roughly is the amount of calories for them. If we can work out maintenance, then we can work out surplus and deficit. But understand that it's impossible to work out on a calculator. People think that it is. There's such a big variance between everyone. Great example. You've got my brother is 30 kilos lighter. Most of the time, he eats more food than me in the off season. My friend Ricky, that you've probably seen me with a lot in my recent post, I reconnected with him last year. Ricky will lose weight if he's not having 4,500 calories a day, doesn't track steps, doesn't do cardio. But actually, Nick, you know Ricky, don't you? Ricky Moore. So Ricky Moore is shredded contest shape year round at 43 years old. When you normally say, oh, you'll start gaining weight as you get older. No, he's shredded all year. He doesn't look any different all the time. Doesn't have to try. He has to make sure he gets the food in it or he'll lose weight. And then you've got me. If I eat 4,500 calories, I'm having to do minimum 15K steps a day, probably cardio 3 times a week, and my spin class, and I'm 20 kilos heavier than he is. So it's huge variance. And that's why we can't work out on a calculator. But we can use it as a good gauge to start. Then we pay attention to what's going on. Is our weight going up, down? And then if for example, we're trying to find maintenance and it's now going up, okay, we need to put some extra expenditure in or drop the food down, depending where we are. So obviously, when we're in a deficit, we're in fat loss and weight loss, and then the opposite is true for a surplus. But simple way, obviously, I don't need to even explain that because you guys know. More food, less activity, surplus, and then obviously swap it down. More activity, less food, we go into a deficit. And it's finding a balance between all of them.
Chris, you gave an example yesterday of a goal that a client had, which is I want to lose weight and gain muscle. Is that technically impossible to do at the same time? Because to lose weight, you have to be in a calorie deficit, and to put muscle on, you have to be in a calorie surplus to some extent.
So people will tell you it's not possible, which is a lie. It depends what variables we've got to play with. So if we're with someone who is natural, they have been training consistently and training hard for a while, and they've been in a calorie surplus for a while and they're gaining muscle, and then we put them into a deficit, they will struggle to gain more muscle because they're kind of maxing out all the variables. However, say with the variables of training, say someone's not been training for a while, we get them back in the gym, they are going to be able to gain muscle and lose fat at the same time because the training itself is now a novel stimulus because that variable wasn't even there. So we've added that in. If someone was coming back from an injury, again, the training variable would suffice. If someone's food quality was shit, so, you know, they could be in a surplus of just shit food, and then we put just junk food, and say someone like was obese and just shit food, and then we put them in a deficit, but with really high quality food that's nutrient dense. Now we've got all the additional nutrients, the micronutrients that they weren't getting, and they're able to now make progress because, for one, their energy will go up, and they'll be able to train harder, feel better, everything else. So again, we can now adjust the training variable and the nutrition variable. But the main one that most people want is, I'm training hard in the gym and I want to then lose muscle and gain fat. Lose fat and gain muscle at the same time. But then we have the massive, most powerful variable, which is enhancement. And you can just keep leveraging that for a while. So if someone was then coming into a diet, providing they weren't maxing everything out, so if you were already max training intensity and volume, max calories, max drugs, then you go into a diet, no, you'll struggle. Because just like the natural guy who's maxed the variables, you've already maxed out the drug variable. But if that's not there, and then we introduce it, even introducing it at a low level, could see someone gaining muscle as they start to come down. And then as the calories go lower and maybe the energy goes lower, you could leverage that variable. And it's because it's so powerful, it can work in a deficit and you still be able to gain muscle. So that's one that a lot of people don't understand. I think maybe because they don't understand enhancement enough. But then I try to, as most of you guys know, I'm very conservative with it. I don't like to just go, take more drugs, take more drugs. Because yes, it does work. Unfortunately, it works very well. But if the rest of it's not in the right place, unfortunately, Jasper's not here because it's his line. Jasper says it's called performance enhancement, not performance replacement. So if there's nothing to enhance, you're not going to get very far, and you're just going to need to take way more than necessary to get the same result as if you had everything else good and then just a little bit. And it's something I've seen over the years. My dosages have come down, yet my results have gone up. Results have gone up because everything else has been done much, much better. And it's why I always tell people, if you're going to go down that road, that's absolutely fine. Please do it with a supervision, someone like me who's experienced. But first, we're going to wait and get everything else right first. And then we can get the most out of the least. So it's a really important part to understand. But I think that's covered your question there to the largest degree, Nick, hopefully. So when we try to start a diet, though, if we go through these undulating phases, which a lot of people don't do, so they maybe come to me and they're already on quite low calories and they want a diet. Okay, we're going to struggle. Whereas if they're on high calories and the weight was maintaining, especially, then, which is what we've done with Ryan before, when we did a rapid fat loss last year, it was like, right, we're on high calories, relatively low expenditure. Let's flip the switch, and your fat will just fly off because you've got loads of room to play with. Even better, if you can get to a place where you're force feeding yourself and you hate food. God, dieting's a breeze. You want to diet, and I can't wait to diet, which most people don't say. And then as soon as we just stop force feeding, and you lose weight. And then
that was surprisingly easy to get to that point as well.
Yeah. What, to get to force feeding?
You swapping me over from, I think you swapped me over from 50 grams of oats in the morning to 200 grams of oats in the morning. And after about 8 or 9 weeks of that, you fucking hate looking at them.
Yeah, if you can get to the point where you hate food, oh my God, dieting, like, yes, come on, bring the diet on. But then it's also going back down the other way. We don't want to go so far that you, like a bodybuilding show where you're burnt out and then you can't capitalize coming back up the other side. If we get to the point where you're starting to struggle, starting to really not enjoy the diet anymore, you're in good shape anyway, pushing it any further is just like burning your body away. If we stop at that point and then go back into a gaining phase, your body's actually receptive to train. If we're going right onto a bodybuilding show, you're so beat up, you can't start training hard. You have to go to recover first and mess around, and you can kind of lose that really good window where you're excited to eat more food and get the most out of it. And if we go in those two like undulating waves, like I said, it seems to get the best result because you're excited for the next bit and your body's responsive to the next bit. So it's a really good way to attack it. But like I say, and I've said this is covered based on what I've said here, where dropping too low, you're just going to get fatigued. So some people will go massive drops. We've seen this especially with semaglutide that I take. Loads of people taking semaglutide, mainly women. They don't want to eat any food at all. Huge calorie drops. Now they're in like a 2,000 per day deficit or something daft. But then they're not eating at all. So they crash diet really fast. And some of them even get to the hair falling out and massive nutrient deficiencies. They're exhausted. They're getting quite ill. Not the way to diet. We still need some food in. So yes, now we've got this extra tool that helps manage our appetite, makes dieting more effective and not so damaging over time, doesn't destroy relationship with food. So in my opinion, it's an absolute game changer, but when used responsibly, just like everything else. We don't want to just chuck it in essentially just not eat because it's just not a good way to go. So
when you're, sorry to interrupt, when you're kind of going from a diet and thing, because I think what I've been guilty of in the past is burning out because I haven't adjusted, because that's when I sit down and get confused by it. Like, how much would you go up by calories if someone's going to be gaining, and when do you kind of recognize before you redline when it's a good time to do it?
So you're saying then, when do we start going to a gaining phase, or when?
Yeah.
It's person specific. I mean, you know, for me this year, it was the point of not doing a show made it a lot easier to make those decisions, because it wasn't a case of, right, we're dieting until this date and then it stops. It was more, okay, I'm going to diet down until I'm happy. Then I actually, because it was summer, so I did it try to kind of the start of the summer. So, okay, I'm going to try and hold here for a little bit because I'm actually really happy with where I am. But then that's something that was new to me, the maintenance side of things. Trying to find this balance, which is different for everyone. For me, I found it easier to kind of stay to the diet in the week and enjoy the weekends, be more social and stuff in the summer. So that's a good way to do it. But when we start to work up the other side, it could be just that you're just fucking tired of dieting. I can't bother anymore. I'm tired. It could be that you've reached your goal and you're happy with it. Maybe you want to stay there for a bit, or maybe you want to then push straight back up. It could be that you're just trying to get some fat off because you're more focused on the progression of your physique. So you're just trying to get the fat off so you don't get too far away from where you want to be, which is what I've done in the past. Obviously, Nick knows this, and you guys have known me longer. It was do a show, get really fat, and then I didn't feel good. I wasn't training well. I felt shit. So what I should have done was start pulling things back down a lot sooner, even if it's just 6 weeks. So right, let's do 6 weeks, get some fat back off, kind of reset, your body's receptive again, and then you can go. Because the thing is, if you're in a surplus for too long, your body starts to down-regulate a lot. You lose your responsiveness to food in the same way. And then it's actually good just to do 4 or 6 week. You can go a little bit more aggressive because it's not going too long to cause any negative impact. And then, right, my body's fresh. And then you see that when you start to put the calories back in, energy goes up, your training goes up and everything else.
Yeah.
But then the idea of how high do we put them is, again, person specific. In the past, I used to go way big jumps. Now, I don't want to gain weight that fast, just from a personal perspective as well. I don't like being out of shape like I used to. I just didn't feel good.
I think that's where I've been getting it wrong, because it's coming from like sports and competitive background, not bodybuilding, but it's just been like, do you know, like that? It's been strict, and then you're all or nothing, rather than doing it gradually. So I suppose it's just keep an eye on energy is the main thing that you're looking at, really. Yeah,
and like, I mean, I see some of the guys that are still actively competing in bodybuilding. Like, I want to do one more season, so I'm not chasing the gotta maximize progress every year. I'm not doing that in the same way anymore, because now I got to a point in 2021. I was like, do you know what? After all these years, I am actually really happy. I'm really happy with the way I look. I don't want to get fat again. So I know in the winter I'll gain a little bit, but not to the same degree. And one thing that helped me stay accountable was I've got loads of events. I'm going to Mexico. Well, okay, I need to make sure I'm a little bit more strict on my diet. Well, the main thing I did was I just didn't eat the shit food. So I'm just my body with good food. So it's in a slight surplus, and then the weight gain is minimal. Because in my opinion, a lot of people, like I said, there's an excuse just to kind of eat shit and be a bit of overeat. But that's a bad relationship with food that we started to develop. Because then we go in extreme dieting and then binge eating, essentially, in some degree. And I see some of the girls, especially, and it's like, whoa, what the hell happened to you? Because they were shredded 6 months ago, and then you're going, whoa, you look massive, overweight, massive, and that's not healthy. And then they back down and they back up. And there's a lot of that going on where it's just forcing the food in unnecessarily. But since I've stopped doing that, I've not really seen much of it's a minimal decrease in progress per year with that, but I'm not getting massively out of shape. So I do believe that a lot of those calories were just getting wasted, not just getting fat. And I'd say the same for a lot of people. So it's, you know, if you're gaining like more than a pound of fat a week or a pound of weight a week, most of it's just body fat. And you start accumulating that, you know, now you're 16 pounds up over 16 weeks minimum, probably getting a couple of pounds of muscle max, and it's just going more and more and more and more. You know, some guys are going up at 40 pounds, 50 pounds, then dieting it back down. So that's 100-pound weight shift in a year. That is not healthy for your body or your mind. Because you see them when they're in the off season and think, you hate life right now. I can see it on your face. I see it all over you.
Just reminds me of Ricky Hatton. He was like the main one, wasn't he? He would get just so huge, and then you see him in the ring, he was tiny.
But I think
he was like smaller than jockeys.
Absolutely unbelievable how he would just blow up and then come down again. Like you say, it's unnecessary. If you can kind of keep yourself somewhere close to where you want to be, and like you say, it's all person dependent. I speak to some guys when they're in cuttings phase, they'll be down at 2,000 calories, and when they're in gaining phase, they're at 5,000 calories. That's a 3,000 calorie difference for me. If I add 500 calories, I start putting on weight. You know, so I put on weight so easily, and I can probably run at 1,500 calories quite comfortably. In fact, I often I undereat and I don't lose much weight. And I think you're right. This is a moving target as well. Your body adapts rapidly. You suddenly just tell it you're going to halve calories. The body just says, "Fuck this!" Right? I'm going to change what I'm doing, and you acclimatize to the new calories quite quickly. But it's so person dependent. That's why I just think a bit of experimentation is important.
Yeah, it is, and it's paying close attention to it. That's why I'd like to give you guys some takeaways today. Also on these slides, and you can try and look at it and think, well, if you went from 5,000 calories to 2,000 because that's the end of your diet, it doesn't mean you suddenly get there faster. What it means is you probably end up on less than 2,000 because you've played your cards too early, and then now your body will adapt. So adaptive, and some people's metabolism are more adaptive than others. It's like, hang on, now you've got nowhere to go. What are you going to do? Like 20,000 steps in 2 hours of cardio? Because now you've maxed, you can't do your food any lower. And trust me, that's not pleasant. That expenditure is not pleasant at all.
And Chris, it's the same with the PEDs. And I know not everyone obviously on this call might necessarily be interested in that stuff, but it's the same thing there as well. It's like we're quite, the human body is quite a well-tuned machine. To suddenly like just sort of be doubling doses or doubling calories, it's, you know, of course the body will have to adjust. And like you say, you don't get the best bang for your buck.
Yeah, because it's like I said to you about, you know, if you pitch someone running around a track, if you start off from the start line, start sprinting, poof, you'll be off the line. You'll blitz everyone for a while, but you won't get very far before you start to burn out. Whereas if you started off with not necessarily a jog, because a jog would be maybe a bit too slow, but a decent pace, 3/4 pace, just running along, you'll probably have to go for ages. If you jogged, you'd go even further, but you know it's going to be so slow that you're probably a bit too slow for most people. But then if you were running, you're gonna that guy who was sprinting, he's gonna have to stop to breathe, and you go past him, and then he sprints again, and he closes the gap a little bit. He might catch you, might just pass you, but less, and then you keep going, and then eventually he's just absolutely gassed, and you're able to still keep going. And if we think about this long term over a few years, that's what I've seen some people do. The body's just burnt out. They've just pushed it way too hard. Red line, and they can't do anything. Whereas you got someone like me who's been a little bit more conservative, and yeah, it's been slower. I could have pushed harder when I was younger and stuff, but I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. Because there's a lot, I've seen so many guys drop, and they're gone, health's gone, and then that's it. You know, do you want to be? I mean, I use Tom as actually a great example a lot of the time, because he's here with a massive smile on his face, fit and healthy, all the time. And it's like, well, do you want to be like Tom in your 40s where you're fit and healthy and well, better than you were in your 30s? Picture of health, big smile on his face. People look at that and think, I'd love to be like that guy. He's always happy, always positive, really full of vitality in life. Or do you want to be absolutely destroyed your health because you've just not took care of it? Just because you're training doesn't mean you're taking care of your health, because there's a lot of bad things you can do in this arena as well. And I just don't want to be that guy. I don't want to have wrecked my health, and I've just spent all this time to try and get to a place where I'm happy and I look good and I feel good, just to let it decline because I can't even keep it up. Because some guys genuinely get to a point they can't even train hard anymore because they've wrecked certain aspects of their health. Like if you put your heart under a lot of stress, can't train hard anymore. It's done. And that's one thing that would kill me. You know, just like, okay, if I can't train. It's not the competing that appeals to me that much. That was just part of an extension of what I was already doing. It's the training that I love. It's the eating well. It's the feeling good about myself. You know, my mind, body, and emotions, and that we discussed yesterday. So just to speed things up a little bit, got a few slides left. I just want to get them done because I know Nick's only got an hour. When working on protein, like I said, main goals, calorie goal first, protein goal second. I have not put carb and fat goals on here because they change. The main thing we'd use, if we're going to a surplus, like Morgan said, carbs would be the main thing we'd adjust. And especially around the training window, I've been playing this a bit more lately, putting even more carbs pre-training, and I have noticed an increase in performance on training. So carbohydrates pre-training and during training, big increase in performance, and you'll see a lot from that. Where some people like to space them evenly throughout the day, which I also do. I like to have carbs in my last meal. It's finding what works best for you, you know, and that's the main thing. And same with the meal timing. I've only had my first meal just for this call, which was what, 1 o'clock, 12:30. I'm going to go training straight afterwards, and I usually eat around that time. I found that most people were the same. They like to push that first meal back a little bit and get good results from it. So when it goes into protein, it's working out what works best for you. In the past, we were told, was it 2 grams per pound, which for me would be like 500 grams, and that's quite hard to eat. And then there was a lot of things where they said people put stress on the kidneys. It was never really proven, because you can, if someone's eating that much protein to be a massive bodybuilder, there's so many other things that could stress their kidneys. You can't determine that it was protein. It could have been many things. But anyway, the reason why we need decent amount of protein is not just for gaining muscle, it's for all these other reasons. And we do see that when I've had clients come in, they're having like 50 grams a day, and we increase their protein. They say, oh my God, my energy feels better. Things like my hair, nails, skin, cartilage, everything. Your body, so many body cells are determined by the amount of protein and the amino acids that we take in. It's really important that we're getting enough. But where is too much? That's why I've got a bit of a scale. So if you're saying it 1.6 to 2.4, and I would say per kilo, not per pound. So for me, I mean, use 100 kilo male, easiest way to do it instead of an 80. I think, you know, some people will be 80, but 100 kilos is just easy to work out. So that would be then 160 to 240 grams if you're a 100 kilo male, which is a quite good number to go with, in my opinion. I probably have around 200 to 240. It used to be higher. Now it's a little bit less. And again, I've not seen a loss in progress because of that. But it's allowed me.
Just a quick one, Chris, on that. Would you say there's many negatives for going past the protein goal?
No, and
not stupidly past it, but say, like you said, 240, the top end. If you go to like 300, are you going to see any gains or side effects from that, like pros or cons from it?
No, and like personally, I have gone higher, and I've not seen negative impact on my health. I've not necessarily seen a better performance, but some people do, and this is why we said the experimentation is really important to see, like, okay, let's like try some things. Obviously, this is what I do with you guys as clients. We implement something, give me the feedback. Was that positive? Was it negative? And then potentially it was positive. Okay, could we push it a bit further? Maybe gain more positives from whatever we've just adjusted, and things like that. And that's why it's so important to collect information, give the feedback, even if you're doing it yourself. So, like, how do I feel? If I've just made an adjustment, if ideally adjusting one thing at a time, do I feel better? Am I training better, sleeping better, performing better? Whatever we're trying to say, just it's kind of having a good level of self-awareness of your body, because some people don't, and that's what I try and teach clients. It's like, right, we go through all this stuff through the coaching process, and I'm trying to teach it to you, so then over time you can be self-sufficient and autonomous, that you can do this on your own. Which, I mean, Tom was a good example of that. Jake was a good example of that, where he sort of, unless the goalpost shifted, he said, right, I want to do a show, and I need to gain loads more knowledge to get to there. I don't know how to get from where I am now. But to get you to where you are now, from where you were, we worked through that in the coaching process, and then we kind of maintained for a few months. And it was like, do you know what? I think I'm good. I think I can do this on my own now from where I am. because I'm really happy in this spot. And then it's left the door open to say, well, if I ever need to learn anything more, we'll just come back, even if it's just for a few months. And we'll gain that extra knowledge, we'll do the same again, and then you can go off to do whatever else you need to do. And this is, I think, an aspect that people don't realize when it comes into coaching. Like, I'm going to work with someone when I compete again, because the stuff I'm doing right now, I've got this knowledge. I've done this for so long. I don't really need someone to go, yeah, you're doing the right thing. It's like, I know, you know, that's okay. But then I'm going, right, well, if I'm going to compete again, I want to achieve a higher level than before. So there's a little bit of a knowledge gap that I don't have. So it'd be a good idea to work with someone the entire time, even though I don't necessarily need someone to do the whole thing for me. I know it to a degree, but there's still stuff to learn from someone else's approach. And then we get to that last bit where my knowledge gap is, right, let's make sure we do that. Because having someone else's input on my body, my own input on my body is really important to give to them. Because, you know, coming with a blank slate is great, but then it's so slow because we don't know anything. Coming with, this is what I've learned about myself so far, it's a lot better. Because then you understand yourself as well. And you can even say, I've tried that before, it didn't work for this reason. And things like that. And just really understanding yourself and what you need, mainly. Yeah. Okay. So just types of cardio, because obviously we've said about expenditures today. So weight loss versus fat loss, obviously if you're just trying to lose weight, I mean, you guys know this. You cardio bunnies versus people who are training and doing cardio and eating properly, we're obviously going to see a different result. One's going to get you lean, muscular, one's just going to get you losing weight, which is the majority of people. We're obviously trying to get lean and muscular and get that fat off in the right way. So I can pretty much skip through those things. And you'll see the difference. This is what we want on the right hand side. We don't really need the stuff on the left. We want a slow reduction in scale weight, not a rapid one. You may see a rapid one at first if you're eating shit and hold loads of fluid, or doing God knows whatever else is going to have you holding water. You might get that initial drop and then it'll go to true fat loss and it'll be slow and steady. For us guys, we're looking 2 pounds a week is a great rate of loss, and you'll see a physical difference in your physique every single week if you're doing good pictures. We want a high muscle mass, we want a high metabolic rate, we don't want to crash that down, so we want to make sure we keep everything up. And if we go crashing too fast, as Tom said, you go from 5 to 2,000, your metabolic rate will take a hit pretty fast because your body will adapt to try and conserve energy due to the fact it's going, what the hell are you doing to me? So you'll see an initial drop. If you're doing a 4-week diet, it would work. If you're trying to do like 12 weeks, it's just going to slow right down and then you've got nowhere to go. And you'll lose strength because now you've got no food to train, you can train like shit. And you want to be lean and toned. So tracking food versus mindful eating. I'm doing more mindful at the moment just because I've tracked for so long. And that's a place that is really good to be, because you don't need to stress so much just because you've done it so much. Because food tracking can cause a lot of these things. Obviously, you can use tracking apps. The Kahuna's app that I coach people on now has a tracking app on. MyFitnessPal is always the go-to. It's kind of brand leader, everyone knows. If you're ever using something like that, like MyFitnessPal, and you make sure you put your own calories in, like based off the stuff we've used before to work out in the earlier slides. Just because if you put in your goal and your body weight, it will always overestimate your calories. And the more body fat you carry, the more body weight you have, but not lean body mass. So I've seen women put in 100 kilos because they weigh 100 kilos because they're really overweight. And it's telling them, yeah, you need like 3,000 calories. And they're going, I'm gaining weight. You will, because your lean body mass is about 60 kilos or something. So we need to make sure we get that right. And if it fits macros approach is actually what I was saying about being flexible. If you use it and say, if it fits your macros from high quality foods, awesome. What it got lost with along the way with the fitness influence was, well, if it fits into my macros, I can just eat ice cream instead of rice. And it's like, yes, sort of. But if you want to have the best performance, you want to have a great physique, and you're not a genetically gifted influencer who can do anything you want anyway, then we can be flexible. So that would be, so we had chicken and beef yesterday. Okay, we're swapping chicken or beef cooked on the barbecue, rice and potatoes, vegetables and salad. Flexible dieting, but trying to get it fit in your macros. And that, once we start to understand what's in our food, then we can build this big list of like, hey, here's my protein sources, carb sources, vegetable sources, etc. And then we can be flexible, and it makes this whole lifestyle really enjoyable, because it's just you're eating food that you know it tastes good. It's not just dry chicken, rice, and broccoli like back in the day, but it's food that nourishes your body and makes you feel fantastic at the same time. And that will make you far more inclined to do it, because now you're doing it because it makes you feel good, not just because of a goal of gaining muscle, losing body fat, something like that. And so I was said in the last slide, don't worry too much about fats and carbs. As long as you hit your daily targets consistently, and more so calories, protein. But protein, I usually do a range. So like I said, maybe 180 to 200 grams, or even 220 grams, a range. Trying to hit an exact number can cause stress, which we can set at the bottom there, becomes obsessive. Last thing we want to do is have someone obsess over the food. The whole point is we're trying to give you freedom over the food, and not stress too much, that you're actually free to enjoy food and live your life properly around your health and fitness goals, not your health and fitness goals all that matters. Like I've said this, there's people that take Tupperwares to fucking restaurants. What are you doing? Like, Nick, could you imagine being out with the family with the Tupperware?
Yeah, my wife would slap me, so yeah, wouldn't be an option.
I know, it's just ridiculous. I couldn't imagine anything, and people look at you weird. The only time I do that really in public is on an aeroplane. But that's only because I'm on an aeroplane for hours. I'm gonna need food, so I take a Tupperware and just ignore the people on either side of me as I'm eating. But it's not an obsessive thing. It's just the fact that I'm out of the house for hours. I need food, and that was how people used to be before we had the availability of junk food. You know, if your parents went out back in the day to work, I'm sure they took a packed lunch. It's just the same. So mindful eating, which is mostly where I am now, way less stressful, but ultimately you usually have to track first for a while to know what's in your food, know your portion sizes, and kind of get the understanding, so you then don't need to do it so much. I still come back to this now and again, and if I'm pushing food up hard or pushing food down hard especially, I'll definitely start tracking, because there's less room for error. At the moment, as long as I'm keeping a close eye on all and everything else, I've got a bit of room for error. Some days are higher, some days are lower. It's not the end of the world, as long as you're making sure that you're not just putting your head in the sand and gaining body fat until you've got a problem. And this also can be used in downtime. If you know what's in your food, then you can really enjoy some downtime with the family, going out food with the family. Most of you guys actually do have kids as well. Things like that. And it's not stressing, going, oh my God, I'm in a restaurant. Well, you can kind of know, well, all right, this is my calories, this is my portion sizes. If I'm going out for food on Saturday night, one thing I do, I'll just shave some calories off earlier in the day, just to give me a bit more extra at night time, and I don't stress about it. I've probably gone over a little bit. It's not the end of the world. It's one day a week I've gone slightly over. If I'm going miles over, a few thousand over, you start doing that every week, you will start to slowly gain quite a lot of body fat. Because I've done that in the past where I thought I was okay. With my Sunday roast, the Sunday roast at a carvery where I'm walking back to the table, actually embarrassed at how much food I've just put on the plate. And then having a massive dessert and stuff like that. That was definitely not mindful eating. It was borderline disordered eating. And I was getting fat from doing that sort of stuff once a week. And then if you go to cinema afterwards, parents kill this with kids, taking the food, sweets at the cinema, sugary drinks at the cinema, that kid might have eaten like 2,000 to 2,500 calories in that sitting. For a child, that's like a few days worth of their calories, and they do get fat really fast from doing that. That's something to be aware of for those of you who do have kids and stuff. So, types of cardio. Some of you guys know that I'm a big advocate of HIIT training. However, my mornings are like low intensity steady state. Although I wouldn't say it's low intensity steady state, I would class more as steps, where it's low intensity. What I do in the morning is more just like decent pace, getting the sweat on. I'll speed up a little bit, drop back for 30 seconds if I start to get a little bit of too much lactic acid buildup and stuff. But the reason I like to do all of these, low intensity steady state, steps, get them done, really good for your health and expenditure. High intensity, at least once a week, is really good because it'll have you getting your fitness up and blasting calories. But the one in the middle that I like to do and I've done more frequently is getting up in the morning, doing some exercise. And I found the benefits of how I feel way more from jumping on my bike, way more than the treadmill, doing steps or going out for a walk. And then I'm so much more inclined to do it, which is so good for my health and staying in shape and training, just because I feel great afterwards. Jump on the bike, do 20 minutes, my headphones in. It's my own time before I give it to everyone else. And I wake up 10 minutes in, and I'm like, I feel good, I've got some music on that I love. And it's like meditating. So whether you want to meditate, you want to stretch, you want to go for a walk, read the paper, listen to podcasts, or ideally do some exercise in the morning. It's great for your health and for your mindset as well, which I think the mindset aspect is often overlooked, but can have a huge, huge benefit. So this is just summarising. Obviously, if you guys want to look afterwards, if you're not sure what HIIT training is, HIIT training for me is classified as 80% to 100%, and this is like low. But obviously, you can burn more calories in less time doing HIIT. You just have to be aware of the recovery demands placed on your body by HIIT training, which is what we cover here in a second. So the main thing is just choose which one you prefer as well. I like a mixture of everything. But if you were a guy that's short on time, you could do 10 to 15 minutes of HIIT every day and you'd probably be able to recover from that. And you get a good level of expenditure. So just the main thing with any kind of stuff like this, same as your training, which we're going to on one of the other days, you've got to find stuff you enjoy. If you don't enjoy it, you're not going to do it. So it's make sure you're aware of your recovery demands when it comes to this aspect, but find stuff you enjoy. So for me, I said I enjoy the bike in the morning. It's at home, jump my headphones on, I'm straight on there. Some people love a Stairmaster. I do still like my spin class. I do still like functional training if I can fit it in. Some people hate it. But with functional training, especially like CrossFit style stuff, there's a direct correlation between that and the gym floor. You'll see the gym floor work improve exponentially because you'll be able to move better, recover faster, and just generally get so much more. Training for fat loss, there isn't one. There is not a best training. A lot of people have this idea that when you're in the gym and you're on a diet, you need to be doing supersets and long and high rep stuff. No, you don't. Your training doesn't really change. If anything, further into diet, it will reduce in volume and intensity. But ultimately, it's finding something you enjoy and you can stick to, which is the answer to most of the questions like this, which is best. The one that suits you the best. Because without it, you'll struggle. But in a fat loss phase, you want to make sure that you're always focusing on performance in the gym. The rest of the day is for burning body fat. When you're in the gym, you're in the fucking gym, and you need to make sure you train hard. And the fastest way to lose your muscle on a diet is you're bollocks and you can't go into the gym with any energy and you're just so weak and the muscles not getting stimulated in the way they were to grow in the first place, which is what I was guilty of in the past. Walk in the gym like a zombie, you can't train. Get away with that for a couple of weeks at the end of a diet, if you're pushing hard for a holiday, show, whatever. You do it. I did it for 8 weeks last year, or the year before. 8 weeks, and my physique started to fade away towards the end. It's too long in too low of a calorie state. If it was like 2 weeks, it'd be fine. But make sure that we're not just trying to push, which is what I've said all these things here. Trying to basically change your entire training style because you're on a diet. You could keep the exact same training plan you've done the rest of the time and adjust everything else around it and just make sure you're performing this well and trying to maintain the same level of performance you started with. Which is really, really important. Because the training will burn such a minimal amount of calories that shouldn't be the focus. And most guys are just going, no, let's do more. And I used to do that. And you end up buried and you've got no recovery capabilities. It just doesn't work at all. And also understand that because you've got less recovery capabilities, if you are training insanely, especially in the depths of a diet, we said about drugs, leveraging and everything else before, you're still going to struggle. When you're deep into a diet, you're going to struggle to gain muscle. Then we switch to maintenance. Maintaining muscle is way easier. And all those force reps with a spotter and everything else, drop them because it causes so much fatigue they'll just start to eat into everything else. If we go in then just to failure on your own, maybe have someone there to spot for a bit of encouragement and for safety, but not actually to touch anything, because you'll regret it afterwards when you get off the machine. You're going, because your body feels like it's just been run over. And then a few myths to bust. Carbs make me fat. Should I cut them out? No. Why can't I lose weight when I eat healthy? We said about the hidden calories and stuff before, and some people are still not tracking. They're still overeating. Doesn't necessarily mean if you switch to good food that you'll start losing weight. I need to eat more to lose weight. Some people actually do because their body is so sort of dysfunctioned. We have to get it healthy first, then it'll start to lose weight. But that's the only time really. For most of us, it's the case that we just need to actually work out our calories and our expenditure, that equation properly. Should I stop eating bread? Still a very old one. I thought I'd put that in. No, if you can digest bread well, keep it in as a carb source. So what we're saying about working out, the proteins that you digest, the carbs that you digest, everyone's different. So for me, bread does cause digestive issues. So I can eat it sparingly. I want a sandwich now and again. I like crumpets now and again. But I'm better by having rice and potatoes. They're my two best carb sources, or a rice-based cereal, or oats. Mainly those four. So it's just finding, again, what works best for you. Should I stop eating dairy? Not because you're on a diet, but if you're lactose intolerant for yourself, absolutely. Do not have dairy if you've got any level of lactose intolerance. It will just ruin your stomach. And that will cause, again, what most people don't realize, sometimes you could be gaining a few pounds of body weight just because you're eating food that you don't digest well. So the bread that you don't digest well, if you don't, dairy if you don't digest well, and you're getting this bloated stomach and you feel horrible, it's making a big difference. Is it eating breakfast necessary to lose weight? No, it's not. These days, I have 4 meals a day. My first meal is usually 1 in the afternoon, maybe even 2 o'clock. So you just eat when fits your schedule. I literally go, right, these are my 4 meals. So for me, I literally go 4 meals. These are my 4 meals. I look at my schedule for the day, which changes every day, and go, okay, this is how I'm going to eat the meals. It's usually a pre-training meal. I'll be an hour and a half before training. So wherever I'm training, that one's dictated. I'll use that one before bed, and the other 2 will fall wherever. We don't know. And I would say for you guys, just find what works best for your schedule. There is no set in stone ways you have to eat. The way you have to eat, the times you have to eat, none of it is set in stone. It's whatever works best for you. We've covered, can we burn fat and build muscle at the same time? Can eating late stop you making progress? No, absolutely not. Most of us guys probably eat our last meal quite late. However, if you eat a huge meal close to bed, it can cause some disruption to bed when you go to sleep through fluctuating blood sugar levels or just being really full. If you're really full when you go to bed, if you ever go for an all-you-can-eat in the evening, for example, you'll struggle to sleep. You struggle to get comfortable, and your body's still trying to digest. It's just not. It's not working properly to be in a state to sleep. Hidden calories definitely will wreck your diet. Just covered before. Snacking, which is why I put my meals close together. Because my meals were stretched out, there's going to be big gaps. Push them together. Now there's no gaps. Snacking becomes a thing of the past. A hell of a lot easier. Healthy food is not too expensive. That's why we've got an Airbnb and we're cooking, because it's a hell of a lot cheaper just to cook. I mean, I cook a whole chicken these days most of the time, make it really easy. Whole chicken in the oven is about £5. Rice, you get it, I don't even know. You get a big bag if you want, costs next to nothing. I think my vegetables are the most expensive thing I buy these days. Things like, should I have 100 calories per serving, or 100, no, so it's 30 grams of protein per serving was a myth in the past. No, we're all different. You're not telling me that my 67-year-old mum needs to digest the same amount of protein as me, or needs the same amount of food per serving. So, and can the meal frequency increase your metabolism? No, it doesn't work that way. And it doesn't slow it down, otherwise it doesn't make any difference. That was a real myth of the past. So, guys, we've got a Q&A, so if anyone wants to ask any questions, I've gone through that. Fire away. I think I said before we jump off, because I don't want anyone I don't want anyone waiting around too long. So guys, any questions? Talk about expenditure. Anything else you'd like to know based on today's topics?
Just you mentioned the 4 meals. I'd kind of be similar to that when I'm on form, but sometimes I'm just not prepared enough or life gets in the way kind of thing. But after training stuff, do you have a protein shake or whatever? Do you count that as, or is it a set post workout meal you have? Or
So that is actually a really good question. Some people do still have a protein shake post workout. The only issue is if it's 1 scoop, it's not too bad. If you're gonna have like 2 scoops of protein, you're thinking, oh great, I've got like 6 grams of protein in. But it's so rapidly digested when you're just gonna drink it like that compared to if I was to eat a meal, like my meal that I had before is still digesting now, my shake would have already gone. So the only time I actually have protein powder at all is pre-training with cereal, because then it'll be digested a little bit more slowly, like the meal would, because it is then a meal. So that could be oats, rice-based cereal, things like that. A lot of people still have shakes post-workout through the old-fashioned myth, which was more to do with marketing for protein powder, that you have to, these anabolic window, and you have to get protein shakes in. However, that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It just means that I think it was a little bit over-exaggerated, the benefits you would get.
the anabolic window.
Yeah, because I would personally prefer someone to have either a whey hydrolyze or isolate, or like, especially if it's a clear whey because it goes into a drink much better, or some essential amino acids, and have that in your intra-workout drink. So that's what I'd normally have. Whilst I'm training, I'll be sipping amino acids anyway. So you could have, like, especially, like I say, clear whey's just like amino acids these days. It's so clear, it's not like a milky shake. Chuck that in your drink and sip it through training whilst you're training. That's then going to be a steady amount of amino acids all the way through. And then you can have your post-workout meal instead. Because then even if you didn't eat straight away post-workout, you've had all that going through. And especially if you put some carbohydrates in there, workout performance will be up. Some electrolytes, like I said before, electrolytes in there, creatine in there, put this mixture in as we drink, as we're training, sipping away. And you'll see a better performance in the gym. And then those nutrients are more likely to go into the muscle you're working because the blood flow is already going there. So it's kind of the idea of pumping them into the muscle as you're training.
Yeah, I've never actually used an intra. And I think what you said about, nearly passing out and stuff probably would have saved me a few times, because I'm kind of guilty of, I don't like training on a full stomach. So I'm kind of guilty of either leaving it too late or going in having it nothing.
Well, this is why I have the protein powder and cereal pre-workout normally, just because it's lighter. So I can then sit, I can go into training and I've not got a big meal sat on my stomach, but I'm fueled, ready to train. And then by the time I finish training, I'm often then a little bit hungry. My stomach's a lot more empty now, so I can fit a meal in much better. So that's worked for me for years, and it's just about experimenting with stuff like this. So if you try, I'd say for all of you, if you're normally eating a meal pre-training, try the cereal and protein powder. If you want to put some peanut butter in there and stuff like that as well, you can do. And then see if you have a better workout. See if that felt better than before. If it did, maybe stay with it and then play with the rest. So you can put the intra workout in, see if your training was better. Most guys straight away go, oh my God, I was training so much better today, especially towards the end, because your blood sugar just stays at a good level all the way through. And then they finish off, and you could potentially go straight for a meal. I'll normally have a meal there. But if you're saying, well, do you know what? Afterwards, I still need like half an hour or so before I can eat, you could do that as well.
Yeah, I do normally need about an hour before I'm ready for anything, even if it was a shake. So, but I mean, we've thrown out about I'm not joking, about 2 kilos of gone out of date stuff because I don't like using them. They're there as an emergency if I need them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and the idea of post-workout, realistically, and this is worse, by the way, if you're having a lot of stimulant-based pre-workouts. But realistically, if you're going to train, you're in a sympathetic nervous system state, which you want for training, you don't want for food. So some guys will then put a meal in straight afterwards and going, oh my God, I feel so bloated and sick. So yeah, because your digestion's just like switched off. because it's not an essential process when you're going like gun to the head sets on a hack squat. Digestion's not a process that's required at that point. And that's why it's also, if there's loads of food in your stomach, you can end up throwing up during training or feeling quite nauseous during training because your body's trying to do everything else, not digest that damn food. So you need it somewhat digested or a light meal in beforehand. And then your body's able to focus on what you're trying to do at the time. So when you're training, it's focusing on training. When you've then finished, it is a good idea to take 15, 20 minutes, maybe longer, just to bring things back down, calm back down. Even if you're like stretching at the end of your session would be a way to do that. Because you'll relax, you go back into concentrating, and then your body's ready to accept that food. You'll probably notice your hunger will go up then as well. And like, oh, I'm ready to eat now. And then that makes sense as your body is now going to be primed to take that food in. Because not only have you just trained, but now you're hungry. You're like, all right, so yeah, I'm ready to take it in. Does anyone else got any questions before we end there? So, guys, it's been another valuable session today, hopefully, for all of you. Just stop sharing. Stop sharing. Oh, not you share.
Fuck it.
You okay?
Yeah, sorry, I just realised how awful I look. I need a haircut.
I had to go to my barber right before we came. So I can't go to Mexico now. So, guys, it's been another fantastic day. Any questions in the meantime, please drop me a message as well. But I'll save this. I'll put it into Google Drive. So if I want to look back over it, I'll put the slides in as well. And then what I'm going to do, I need to make a blank template. So I've not actually got any blank ones. Obviously, they're all been used by clients in the past. Obviously, Pete, you're on Kahunas anyway. Some of you guys who maybe want to just use that template to program the training. We're going to go through some other elements of it as we go forward, just as an example of like I'm obviously talking about hormones, things like that. So I'll run you through some of the stuff that I do, just because although it's that depth is not necessary for everyone. It's just good to learn. It's good practice to learn some of this stuff, and then you can apply it to yourself going forward. So, guys, have a fantastic rest of your evening. It is Saturday. Hopefully, you've all got plans. Something exciting. I'm going to go and train now. Oh shit! I'm supposed to be there in 7 minutes.
Enjoy.
Right, see you tomorrow, Chris.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Cheers. Bye.